You've probably heard this phrase before: do not fear, only believe. It's so simple, right? But it's absolutely packed with meaning, and it was said during a moment of pure, gut-wrenching crisis. But what's really going on with that command? Was it just a nice thing to say to someone who's hurting? Or is there something much, much deeper at play? Well, let's dig in and unpack the story and the ideas behind these 5 simple words. All right, so to really get this, we've got to start with an emotion we all know. I mean, every single one of us. And that's fear. It's a fundamental part of being human. You know that feeling, right? That anxiety when you're staring into the unknown or even thinking about, well, the ultimate unknown, death itself. It's a completely natural response. But the story we're exploring today suggests there's another way, a totally different path to take. And that brings us to the man at the center of this story, a guy named Jairus. Now, he was a big deal, a respected synagogue leader. But on this particular day, none of that mattered. He was just a dad, facing the absolute worst thing any parent could ever imagine. Just try to picture this for a second. This important man, Jairus, is literally on his knees, begging Jesus to come and save his little girl. And Jesus says yes. But then they get stuck in a crowd. You can just feel the clock ticking, can't you? And just then, some messengers show up with that horrible, gut-wrenching news. It's too late. She's gone. And their words, man, they're just so final, so full of despair. Why bother the teacher anymore? In their minds, the story's over. Hope is completely gone. There's just no point. This is rock bottom. But it's right here, in this absolute pit of hopelessness. This is where everything changes. The whole story just pivots on a single, powerful command. It's like Jesus doesn't even hear the messengers. He completely tunes out their very logical conclusion that it's all over. He looks right at this heartbroken father and says it. Do not fear, only believe. And you gotta understand, this isn't some soft, gentle suggestion. It's a command. It's meant to slice right through all that noise of grief and panic. Okay, so what does that even mean? How do you just choose belief when every part of you is screaming in fear? To figure that out, we really have to break down these 2 opposing ideas. Yeah, look at this. It lays it out so clearly. On one side, you have fear, which is all about anxiety, worry, and despair. And on the other, you have belief, which is about trust, assurance, and hope. What the source material is really getting at is that these 2 things are like oil and water. They just can't exist in the same space. So Jesus is essentially telling Jairus, you have to leave that world of fear behind and step completely into this world of belief. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This can get a little confusing, right? Because the Bible also talks about fearing God. But it's a completely different kind of fear. This isn't about being scared of what might happen. The fear of God is more like a deep reverence, an awe that actually makes you trust more. It's the kind of respect that lets you see God as your refuge, and paradoxically, that kind of fear actually cancels out all the other kinds. So what about this belief part? What does it actually look like? Well, the source material is pretty clear that it's not about how big your faith is, like you have to strain and muster up some huge amount of it. Nope, it's all about who you put it in. Real belief is about consistently putting your trust in God and wanting what He wants, not just trying to get what we want. And this all leads us to the real heart of the matter. That command, only believe, wasn't just a secret password to get a miracle. It was pointing to something way deeper, a kind of trust that can weather any storm. And this is probably the most important part. When Jesus said, only believe, notice what He didn't say. He didn't promise a specific result. He didn't say, don't worry, Jairus, I'm definitely going to heal your daughter. No. He was calling him to a radical trust in God's character and plan, no matter what happened. The miracle came after, sure, but the command itself was all about the trust. So where does that kind of trust come from? Well, the source points us to that famous line from Romans. The idea is that belief isn't about making sure we get exactly what we prayed for. It's about trusting that even when things make no sense to us, there's a bigger purpose working for good. And that really wraps it all up. When your hope isn't tied to your circumstances, whether things are good or bad, but it's placed in God Himself, well, that's when fear starts to lose its grip. Even something as powerful as the fear of death can't stand up to that kind of hope. And that brings it all right back to us, doesn't it?
because we all have those moments, those times when we're facing something huge and scary, something we can't control. So the question this story leaves hanging in the air is for you and for me. In that critical moment, what does it really take to make that choice, to choose belief over fear?